to a farm with a difference. In 1851, Britain was basking in the glow of the Great Exhibition at the Crystal Palace, a celebration of the country's faith in industry and technology. At the same time, with less razzmatazz, another example of Victorian inventiveness was being unveiled near Welshpool. Built at a cost of £200,000, many millions in today's terms, Leighton Park was a Victorian model farm, designed to bring industrial ideas into agriculture, an iconic statement about the potential of modern farming. Leighton Park's home farm was a wedding present to a young man called John Naylor. He was one of the wealthiest men in Britain, a Liverpool banker whose family built their financial empire partly on the slave trade. His house was a monument to Victorian taste, a mock medieval home which used the top designers of the day, such as Augustus Pugin, who was responsible for interior design at the Houses of Parliament. Leighton wasn't just a working farm, but a statement about the 19th century belief in science and technology. It was designed to impress. In today's terms, it was a model of sustainable technology. Renewable farming practices included a revolutionary water power system. Leighton also had its own railway network and humane methods of rearing poultry in exquisite, if over-the-top surroundings. John Naylor was as green as they come. The Royal Commission's Stephen Hughes conducted a survey of the farm 25 years ago. Now it's time for an update with colleague Susan Fielding.
The scale of the buildings give an idea of just how the sort of industrial might of Britain and the mercantile wealth of Liverpool was used to build these great structures here on a sort of contemporary scale to the big industrial factories and workshops that were taking place in the cities at the same time. And the idea was to get this efficient flow of materials through and in a logical order, and impose this order on farming in just the same way as it would be used in factories as well. If you look up there, so you can see the great doors that were used to seal off the barns as well. And they work on great sort of counterbalance systems. And the doors actually come down like a portcullis.
Another innovation was a tramway through the barns, carrying fodder and straw for the animals.
You can still see, Sue, where the rails came through here and over there on an 8-foot gauge, about twice as wide as a normal railway today. I think if we go over there, we might be able to see the rails a bit better in the building over there. So when we come over here, you can see where the rail came into the threshing machinery block down here. And there must be another rail over here, or the remains of it. Yes, there we are. You can see the line there of where the other rail ran through here. And so the hayricks could be brought right into where the threshing machinery was, where the water power was, and the straw and the corn separated and then moved around the complex. The straw to bed down the animals and the corn up into the granary above for feed.
Leighton looks more like an industrial estate than a farm, the vision of a man who worshipped at the altar of modernity. One of the most innovative practices concerned the housing for sheep and pigs. Here, animal waste was gathered in an elaborate underground slurry system, the first stage of its journey back to the fields via an intricate delivery process. What was once a sheep house is today a carpenter's workshop. But the imprint of the past is all around.
Come over here, Sue, you can see where the water systems of the farm were.
Right.
We're in the old, one of the sheep houses here, and In fact, you can see chutes on either side of this well of water where manure actually went down to feed the slurry system. Completely green system of farming, no use of sort of chemical fertilisers. Quite a revolutionary system for its time. Nothing on this scale had ever been attempted, and even the royal farms at Windsor are a few years after the great installations that took place here.
John Naylor was a full-blooded Victorian. He was in direct competition with his neighbour, the Earl of Powys, who had also built a model farm. It was a classic battle between new money and the aristocracy, and in the end, Naylor won. The Earl simply couldn't compete any longer. Naylor's hydroelectric power system gives us a taste of the formidable power of his chequebook.
Here in Wales, of course, we've got so much available water for water power, and the hills to provide the gravity drop that can drive powerful turbines or water wheels. And so water is a sustainable and logical form of power to use on the farms here, and there are great reserves of it. So you see right up there behind us is the top station of the funicular railway. The railway went up the slope here from this very tall brick building, which was the water turbine powerhouse that actually drove that railway going up the inclined plane, and also powered the line and went down to the farm down below.
So that's the two railway systems that took the slurry around the farm and up to the top of the incline?
Yes, I mean the two actually met here, and the solid waste came up from the farm and was changed over into trucks that would took the slurry right up to the top of the hill there, through the top station, which was also a banqueting house for the Naylor family.
Right.
And then it was tipped in the great water tank up there and then could be released in the winter.
You could be forgiven for thinking that this is a folly modelled on a Swiss chalet or even an upmarket Victorian railway station. It is, in fact, a chicken house. And if you think the outside is over the top, wait for this.
Oh, well, this is fantastic inside.
It's amazing, isn't it? All this stained glass just for keeping birds. But apparently this was supposed to be a birthday present for Georgina, John Naylor's daughter. And the date, 1861, is just at the end of the Opium Wars, when Peking bantams, exotic fowl from China, were just allowed into Britain for the first time. And so it just shows John Naylor was keeping up with Queen Victoria, who's supposed to have had a few of these birds, and built this exotic sort of palace for them about a year after they first came into the country. These are nesting boxes, I presume, and they've actually got flying space inside and perches on the floor above as well. So they were certainly looking after the birds fairly well, weren't they? I mean, what a contrast with battery farming today.
Yes, I mean, the welfare of the animals seems to be really top of their priorities.
Yeah, they wanted to bring their guests round and admire the birds being kept in good conditions and not in sort of miserable small spaces, really. And you can see these little doors for actually allowing the birds out in good weather as well. So they were sort of thinking round just how to make this quite a sort of pleasant environment.
Okay, a totally different room for a totally different type of bird again.
Yeah,
Still
well,
got the nice ventilation.
that's right.
up
I mean, it's very elaborate housing there. That's ventilation through to where they're keeping the grain up on the upper floor and the dovecots as well. And of course, they did have very large birds on the estate as well, emus, but I doubt that they were kept in this particular building.
So do we know whereabouts they were kept on the estate?
Well, the stories of the emus actually chasing one of the younger sons of John Naylor, so probably somewhere near the house, I think, where they had exotic animals.
I've never seen so much stained glass in a chicken house.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? So much lavish living.
Here are some lovely surviving dove boxes.
Yes, I mean, they've got birds of every type, and here up in the attic, there's provision for the doves as well.
This is the nicest chicken house I think I've ever seen.
Yes, it is rather, isn't it?
Leighton Park Farm is both a wonder and an oddity, an insight into a time when industry and technology ruled the roost. Next, the surprise discovery of evidence of early Welsh artistic vision at Ciliau in mid Wales.